certain age group?
No.
Oh, I would love to learn.
Hey, everybody. Hi, welcome. My name is Cindy Collins. I'm one of the co-founders here at Actors Theater of Indiana, and welcome to Lunch Break with ATI. This is our weekly podcast. And this week, we have three very lovely people. First, we have Jeff Worrell, our friend and neighbor. Not really my neighbor, but he is.
Wow.
He's a
everyone's
great
neighbor.
guy. He's everyone's neighbor. That's right. He's Mr. Rogers. He's actually Mr. Carmel, really, kind of. He's kind of taken that over. And then we have Kevin Locke, Ryan Locke. God, I was so close. Ryan Locke and Leah York. And today we're going to talk. Each week, we've been having candidates for the city council on, and so give everybody, everybody gets a fair deal, and so this week is these three. Now Jeff is on the city council, but you are running for re-election.
Yes,
obviously.
for re-election at large.
Yes, at large. And Ryan Locke, first timer.
First timer.
Leah,
First time.
first timer. Okay. So are you guys at large, or are you on? It's
So North Central District
North
is
Central
the district
District.
I'm running for.
Where-
Right where we are right now.
right here? Okay.
Yep, and I'm running for Northwest, which is the top half of the western side of Carmel. So west of 31 from 146th Street to Main Street, all the way out to Shelbourne. So
I'm trying to think because who was ours was Laura Campbell.
correct, that's the one
That's
I'm
right.
running.
That's you.
Mhm,
Okay, that's our neighbor. We're in the village of Mount Carmel.
Yeah.
That's where Judy and I live. So you will be, if
Right.
well, hopefully you will be our
I
representative.
would love to earn your support,
Oh,
yes.
well, okay. That's I can't say. Well, I can. What do I care? Yeah. But okay. So let's go. First thing, let me just ask you guys, Jeff. You obviously listen. You know the ropes. You've lived in Carmel a pretty long time. You and Sherry. You've been on the city council, but you have. It's not just that. You are a huge Rotarian. The Rotary. You're really. You're really like, kind of like the old school where the person is really involved in their community for their entire life, almost. And that's kind of really, really rare. It's how I grew up, but that's not, it doesn't happen all the time now. So you've really been here a pretty long time, and you really do care about the community.
I
Really
do.
do.
Love it.
And it shows, it's not you're not just all, you walk the walk, you talk the talk, you walk the walk, right? You will not be selling any spark.
Oh, yes.
Will you?
Oh, yes. That doesn't ever go away.
That never ends.
No, that never ends.
Okay.
Well, as long as we have fireworks, I need to raise money.
Okay. Okay. So, so you're still going to be doing that.
Sure.
That's good. That's
Unless you're giving me some kind of promotion or there's some reason I shouldn't.
I can't give anyone.
Okay, all right.
Anyone.
Yes, no, I will be selling.
I can't even promote myself.
Memorial Weekend, we'll be out right up there. For
Okay, good. Okay, I wasn't sure about that
Yeah.
because okay. So, but you were okay. But last year was your last year with Carmel Fest. Come on, tell me. We were at the party.
Yeah, and so last year was just my 30th anniversary serving on the Carmel Fest committee, and they did not fire me. So this year will be 31.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't know what's going on. I go to a party. I'm singing.
That was awesome. Thank you for being there.
No, I know. Thank you. It was wonderful. But I'm like, you're done doing something. No, not at all. He's going.
It was just an excuse to party.
Yes. Wow.
With Sparkler.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So great.
Yeah.
So let me just ask you real quick. Why are you running for real? Like, really, it's a pretty simple question, kind of.
No, it's a great question, and I'm going to be very brief because I want to make sure everybody has a great time to explain why they're running. So I really enjoy serving. It is something that I think I've maybe proven, and I love working with our residents in trying to make their lives better. In this case, we're going to have a new mayor and 6 new councilors. So I do believe that that this year I will also be able to share some of my experience maybe some institutional knowledge in order to help my colleagues to be more successful. Because one of the things we have to do is when someone calls and says, my backyard is flooding, you've got to really know who to call to get help with that. A counselor cannot solve that problem.
Right.
So that's the role that I hope to take
Yeah.
with maybe some workshops and some things in the beginning, and then these guys will then teach me the ropes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to, well, this is a big turnover,
It is.
especially with Brainerd, Jim
Yes.
Brainerd leaving. It's a huge
Yes.
turnover.
Yes.
So, you're right, passing the baton,
Yep.
having some people that are still there when you're having kind of this pretty big exodus.
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
so it's pretty important. Obviously, you're gonna have to have people who are there who still know what the heck's going on, but you didn't run for mayor.
I did not.
And I was a little surprised about that, to tell you the truth, but I'm glad you're still gonna be on the city council.
Yes.
I'm
I am
really glad.
honored to serve in any capacity, and I think this is the best place for me.
You're good, and you're smart, and you know best for yourself. All right, Ryan
Mhm.
Locke,
Yes.
go.
So I'm really excited about this opportunity to bring the expertise that I've built over the last decade with the state government to my local community. So I was born here. I've lived here forever. Love Carmel.
Forever,
Forever.
so far.
Literally forever so far. My dad went to Carmel High School, graduated in 1975, so he's
Okay.
been here literally forever.
Yeah.
And to that, I've seen where it's come. I know the past. I know what made it great for me as a kid growing up here. And I've got 2 young boys and want to make sure that it stays excellent and moving in the right direction.
Did you go to Carmel High School too?
I ended up going to Verbuff, but
Okay.
yeah, went to Clay Junior High and Mohawk Trails.
Yeah.
It's actually part of the class and got to build that big turtle that's on the wall over there.
Okay.
As they renovated the building from the shared classrooms to
Yeah.
the individual classrooms back in the day. But
Okay.
to that, I love this place.
Yeah.
Seeing the last 28 years with the mayor and the vision that was
Huge.
there.
I mean, I'm not from here, but huge changes
Mhm.
from what I've just seen by
Yeah.
my time here.
For sure.
Even when I used to visit here, it was Main Street was nothing like it is now.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to continue. It looks like the growth will continue. I have a question about that. Hold on,
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to that,
Mhm.
Leah York.
Yes.
Okay, so you tell me. Go.
Why I'm running.
Come on.
Okay. So I have been here since 1982, mostly. So
Okay, good long time.
Moved back to raise my family here after I graduated from Carmel High School and then Indiana University. I now live as an empty nester. I decided to sell my home and move on to the Monon Trail. And so I'm
Okay.
now one of those apartment people.
Yeah, that's okay.
But so many people are moving towards that.
That's
that
right.
I say lifestyle of choice. It's not a lifestyle of last resort like
Mhm.
some of us think of apartments. But I just love living right on the trail. And there are so many things that are happening, and a lot of the development and growth has been there in the past few years. More than 30% of the agenda items on the city council have been for projects in my district. So I got interested, and I actually had a conversation with Jeff Worrell, and he's been a great mentor to me over the past couple of years, and asked him, I'm thinking about running. I have a great leadership and finance and business background. What do I need to do to figure out if I want to do this? And so I went to city council meetings, plan commission meetings, BZA meetings, CRC meetings,
For 2 years.
anything they'd let me crash. At this point, we're closing in on 3 years
Oh,
now.
wow.
Because I really wanted to understand
Well, you
what
did
the
your
heck I'm
research.
doing.
You did your
Right,
research.
Right.
I mean,
right.
that's good for you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now about this, listen, I will say it doesn't bother me, all the development,
Mhm.
okay? But some people kind of does. You hear, you're building too much. Where's the green spaces? Is there going to be? There are certain areas of Carmel which, are being built on that really kind of, it's good. It's really good because it's making it nicer. I suppose there's other areas that maybe that's not the case. I don't know. But what do you think about all this development? It will continue. We all know this. I mean, it's not going to stop, right? So where do you think, let me ask you first, Leah, where do you think to build or not to build? That is the question.
Well, I think it depends.
Right.
Depends on where it is and what project it is, and is that something we need in that spot
Yeah.
first. But I will say that the mayor had a great vision, and he's been building an amazing city, and we're maybe 80% of the way there here in this core. I'm making up that statistic. I don't know where we are, but it's close, right? We've got more work to do. We've got to finish what we started because there are still eyesores like along the Monon Trail even. So we need to finish that. Things have been moving really quickly over the last couple of years, and I think it would be okay if we just not paused, but take our time to be thoughtful and make sure we get input.
So finish what's already in finish what's already in in the process of, and then just take a breather and think.
Well, I'm not sure a breather,
Okay.
but I think we need to be thoughtful as we're making decisions and include the neighbors. I think a lot of the neighbors have felt left out. It doesn't mean we're going to do what they want to do, right? But they need to be part of the conversation so we can make the very best decision for Carmel.
Yeah. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah. Well, to echo, I think that it's really, really important that when you're redeveloping, which is a lot of what we're doing now, you're looking at it from the perspective of, is this necessary from a financial standpoint for the city? Is it creating more quality of life, investment opportunity, revenue for us as the city to make sure that we can do the things that we want to, which is inclusion of arts in our budget, things like that are all part of that strategy that we put into it. I think one of the things that we've had, because we've had a mayor and a team for so long, there's a lot of knowledge there that goes into kind of that buildup. There's context that is hard to share, I think, with constituents because it's been 10, 15, 20 years in the making. One of the beautiful things about the council where we are now and the people that have stepped up to run and people that have decided to stay is we're going to be able to kind of weave that context to a new process, to new understanding from a state perspective and from perspective from nonprofit space and other places that we haven't had so far. We're going to have 6 new voices that can be that sounding board, can listen to constituents, can explain to them, hey, yes, this is coming and this is why. We need your input. As Leah said, we may still have to approve it because it makes sense.
I agree. It's because it makes, listen, it's your community. You live here, right? You're like, now I don't have a say in where I live. I mean, so you have to give a say to the people who live in the community, even if it's ludicrous, even if the comments are ridiculous. Sorry, but it makes people feel that they have a say and they're inclusive. They're paying property tax. They pay, I live here, and so, but I do agree with, you're talking about when you were like the apartments, okay?
Right.
I have no problem with apartments. I grew up in New York. I lived in an apartment for years. Great, love apartments, okay? I think that is bringing people in, to the community in a way. These apartments, I think, you know what I mean? Or if people are getting, they're like, I don't want a house anymore, but I want a nice place to live and I want a nice apartment. And so I think that's really important. But also, you're talking about, the arts. So let's segue, shall we? Real quick, let's segue to that because I know Jeff and Sherry are very good supporters of ours and supporters of the arts, which is, of course, massively important to me. I don't think, actually, any kind of city, and this is the city of Carmel, I don't think any kind of city is anything without the arts. Sorry. I think when the arts go away, the economy drops. And I've seen it happen, with certain theaters around the country. And so I think that's important. I think the arts bring people to a destination. And in saying and in talking about that, tell me. I mean, I know how you're a huge supporter, but Leah, I mean, what about, here we have this beautiful Center for the Performing Arts, that is our home where we are.
Right.
Okay. And it's lovely. It's wonderful. We're very happy to be there. But, the arts is not for weaklings, to be in it as an actor, I'm a co-founder here. So what's your take? What is your take on the arts in Carmel?
Well, first of all,
and let me narrow it down because I think visual arts are very important too. The performing arts.
Performing arts, okay. I think arts of all kinds though are really important.
I agree.
And I'm a musician, so I'm a pianist and a cellist.
Okay.
So it's in me,
Right,
right? I love it.
Right.
We're actually, the city's participating in a study about what kind of economic impact the arts has on a community. So I've been out there. I think when the ice sculptures were happening, I volunteered and took some surveys and gathered information about how are people spending their money when they're coming down because that's an arts experience,
Right.
the ice carvings.
Right.
And that the arts bring more money into a city than anything else,
Right.
including sports.
Yeah, I mean, here, look, this state is so sports heavy. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that.
Right.
It's just so sports heavy. And usually people do rely on that, these big stadiums and the sports teams, and there's so much money that is poured into sports, not just professional sports, but the schools and everything. Now, Carmel also equally pours money into the performing arts at Carmel High School. My daughter is in show choir. Hello. Trust me, I know. And we know, Judy and I know it is intense, and they are like on the verge of professional. They're the way they run things. Fantastic. So I appreciate that, okay? So I think it's extremely important in the school systems. The arts are extremely important everywhere. But yeah, it's good. You're a musician. You get it,
I get it.
right?
Yeah.
You have that internal love for it, right? Where people who, and you're a supporter of the arts, I'm assuming.
Yes, absolutely.
But what about you, Ryan?
Yeah. So I was a visual artist throughout school. I drew. I would consider myself a performer at karaoke. I'm not a singer. I'm not good at it, but I can perform all day long. But
I'm remembering that.
No, yeah, everybody, yeah. So if that pops up, I had a really good time. Too. I think the key, and when we look at kind of what our role is as the legislative body on the council, it's a check and balance on executive process. It's a helping shape the direction and right sizing where we are as the city and helping, maneuver that direction the right way.
Yeah.
The arts are a huge part of that. The ability of Carmel to be at the place it's at financially, to have low taxes, to have a tax base that
Yes.
supports
I appreciate
itself
that.
to allow us to invest in the arts shows what an exceptional place this place is. It puts us in a position where not only do our schools give great access to the arts for our young people, but we then as adults have access to those same things as adults, which allows them to move back and feel included in the community. It allows us to have a quality of life that we have been able to invest in that matters. And that's walking around Carmel, talking to people. People choose to live here because of those things.
Yeah.
So all about it, I think from the standpoint of setting an agenda on the arts, I think we're sophisticated enough, we're smart enough to do that, to look at funding, to look at art that's being put around the city in a way that's strategic, that is valuable, that increases based on objective data.
Right, because art,
life.
yeah, and I agree, because art, and like the visual art around Carmel, it's like when you come into Carmel, the whole thing is like a palette that has been a blank palette that has been made to be art. I mean, the whole city is like a piece of artwork. You have to think about with architecture. It's very important, and pieces of art. And this Performing Arts Center was built, but it has to survive and it has to stay here. It was built. It's lovely. It's big and shiny. The Palladium, right? But then you have us. We're in the Studio Theater. The Booth Tarkington. We're in smaller theaters. It all has to survive. It's wonderful that it was built. Now it's keeping it there and not letting it die. That's my thing, right? It's great when it's all built. There's a hoopla. Now you got to keep it. Now it has to stay, or else. Yeah, I do believe economically an area will suffer greatly. I mean that's just me speaking as an actor. Working at how many different theaters in this country. And where I've worked. But enough about me. So you do something a little special.
What's that?
Leah, York, with when you pass out your flyers. We were just talking
when
about it.
when I'm walking through the neighborhoods and talking to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone gets a York peppermint patty.
Oh well.
Why not?
Okay. Little treat.
Yeah.
And then we were saying, Ryan, passes out padlocks.
It's a little,
Very
it's a little on
heavy.
the nose, but
Very heavy, but you
but
but whatever you want to lock up,
Mhm.
you know,
well,
he
we're,
can,
yeah, we'll
he
keep
can
it safe.
he can help
We'll
it.
say.
Oh my
There you
God.
go. That's
Yeah, right,
great.
Yeah, but the prosecutor can say lock him up, but that wouldn't be.
So where were you? I mean, you were here. You went to IU,
Mhm.
right? And did you ever move out of state?
No,
Never.
I've traveled
ever.
a lot, but not moved.
Right. So you okay? And you too?
Mhm.
Ever
Yep.
lived out of state?
Never out of state.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're real Hoosiers. I mean,
Mhm.
to the core, right? Good. I mean, not good. I don't know. I mean, that's great. Good. I hope good for you, and good for the people who are, you know, Hoosiers, and you know that these two are going to, you know, hopefully be on the city council, and Jeff is going to guide them, along with some other people. I know some other people are staying, but I do think you're a heavy hitter when it comes to this, as far as being mentors, because you have mentored before, and I know you have, and you're so calm and cool and collected. It is so important, because I've seen other people who aren't, and Jeff is always really, really even keeled. And you always try to be like, okay, how are we gonna fix this? How are we gonna figure this out? I need to listen to everybody. And that's also old school, when actually the two parties used to talk to each other and be able to figure things out and not be punching each other on the Senate floor or what's happening, you know, in
That's right.
you know, in Tennessee. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ludicrous what is happening now. And so, and I remember Mayor Brainerd, sorry, I'm like, Brainerd, my old friend Brainerd. But I remember Jim Brainerd saying one time, he goes, look, he was making it was a speech, one of his speeches, maybe it was this, you know, for the city. And he said, you know, we try to figure, he's like me, he goes, I sit down, I'm gonna figure it out with somebody. I don't care what party they're in. He said, I am not the kind to just be
Right. Yeah.
head to head, you know, fisticuffs up, you know, with someone. He's like, I'm gonna sit down, we're gonna figure this out, you know, in a human way, you know, and
It's one of his best qualities.
I do agree with you, and I think that is obviously, I think we all know that is missing in federal and local government right now. It just is. So I know you, but you two seem like that's, you know, that's your MO too. You know, you can sit down, you can figure it out, you know, and I do think that is really, really important. Really important.
Yeah, one of the things that Mayor Brainerd taught me, and he did actually say it, but I would notice it, is someone could just say in the Indianapolis Star, Mayor Brainerd is an idiot,
Of course.
and he would still reach out and say, you know what, they didn't really mean it, or you know, we're gonna work this out, or he always opened the door and asked them back in, and if anything I've learned, that's one of the biggest things.
Well, you gotta have a tough skin, and you really do, because politicians and actors, you really have to have a real tough skin.
Yeah.
Super tough. There's a lot of rejection, and there's a lot of rejection with you. You won't win an election. You're being called an idiot. You know, it's like getting a bad review. You're like, oh, God,
Yeah.
that's a stab to the heart. You know, but you gotta take, if it's a good review, great. If it's a bad review, whatever. You take. I just take. You know me. I don't even pay attention to them. And so it's almost like you can't pay attention to that. Even if somebody says to you, you're awesome. Leah, you are my favorite on the city council. You know, you're like, well, thank you very much. Okay, right? But then
Reality.
let's go back to reality. You know, people saying it's very nice and it's good for very nice compliments and everything, right? But then you always know you're gonna have those other ones that are gonna be not complimenting you. So I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't even, you know, whatever. Just you have to take the bad with the good, you know?
If you're interested in a good book, Chris Matthews wrote the story, and he used to work for Tip O'Neill, about Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill.
I know that story.
Best book I've ever read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where
it's exactly what you're saying.
yes. That Reagan and Tip O'Neill would just sit down.
Punch
They
each
would.
other,
Right.
and then they go have a bourbon.
They don't have a
cigar.
drink and figure it out. I know that story, and that I think about that, right?
Yeah, I do too.
And I think this was old politics with Reagan. You know, he'd sit down and he'd talk to people, and they badger each other. it was the same with Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Scalia.
But was it? Okay.
They on the bench, okay?
Mhm. Yeah,
They go to dinner.
yeah, I love
They
that.
go to dinner.
That's what I hope.
They were
we
very
can
good
get
friends,
encourage.
and they don't talk like civilized human beings
Yeah.
and work stuff out. And it's too bad. It's old school. It shouldn't
Well, I know darn well I'm going to disagree with Leah, or I'm going to disagree with Ryan,
be.
and
Yes.
we're gonna argue.
Yeah.
Then I hope we can go have a bourbon and a dinner.
Right. I
So,
mean, that's important, and that's like attorneys too.
Yeah.
Attorneys that are
Yeah.
battling, and then
that's the
they're
way it
like,
should be.
"Hey, let's go have a drink." You
We
know?
go we're friends.
Yes.
We'll go to a show.
Yes. It's and it can be difficult, but you don't even have to be friends.
It's not personal.
You just have to, right, some of it isn't personal, and you don't even have to be friends, but you have to be able to get along.
Yeah.
You have to be able to get along, and unless someone is completely a hateful person, then there's no sense.
Yeah, I think too, from a government perspective, the key is that these are not personal roles. We're personal people in them,
Yeah.
but we're doing it for Carmel. We're doing it for our community. We're deciding
Yeah.
to step up and be a voice, discussing and coming to a consensus and figuring out which
Mhm.
direction to go. And at the end of the day, you do the right thing the right way for the right reasons, which
Yeah.
is what my mom always taught me. You're going to be able to make it through, and that's really the key to the whole thing.
Mm.
Again, 6 new counselors, a new mayor. We're at a pivotal point for the city
Mhm.
where we can go a bunch of different ways.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the way we should go is
Yeah.
let's make sure Carmel's okay, that the place that we have chosen to live, that we want to live the rest of our lives, that we want to raise our kids and move into apartments if that's our goal, that we can stay here, do that it's great, that there are amenities that we want to take part in, but that we do that in a civil way because it's great. I talk about it. This is one of the best places to live in the history of human beings, ever.
Yes, it's a
on
very
the
nice.
planet.
Ever.
You need to add on the planet.
Right.
On the
For
planet,
thousands
in
of
the
years.
universe, and it is a nice place to live. We enjoy living here, certainly. But I think
Well,
it's
you make it better too. That's the other thing.
yeah. I mean,
It takes all of us.
I hope so. And I think it's for what you're saying is, I think you're saying is for the good of the community.
Yeah.
The good of the community, these are the decisions that, that you're making, which is of course as it should be. So with that, thank you, Leah,
Thank you.
Ryan, Jeff. Get out on May 2nd, vote, and whoever you vote for, get out and vote. Vote, 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 vote. It's a privilege in this country and one we should not take for granted. So get out there and cast your ballot. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm Cindy Collins, co-founder here at ATI, and thanks for joining us for lunch break with ATI. Bye.